gxsam11 at gxsam11.net email. On July 8th, 2014, in the morning, I tried to log into the NetFront's webmail for gxsam11 at gxsam11.net email account, the one that you see right in front of you right now. The bookmark URL would not resolve. In other words, I went and clicked here, and it just kept saying waiting to load the page. I tried to go to other NetFronts-based web apps through other links that I had. I faced the same problem. I tried calling NetFronts. I think it was around 11:15 in the morning Eastern Standard Time. One phone number was like disconnected or something. The other one just kept ringing. So I felt like they had gone out of business and didn't give me a heads up. I figured it's not good to lose my gxsam11 email since many people have been sending me email on that account. So I decided to host the email for the gxsam11.net domain on Google Apps for Enterprise. I already use Google Apps for my buscompanyx.com domain. I figured there would be a way so that I can check my email in the same way that I do it for superuser at buscompanyx.com. In what will follow, I will document the things that I did to arrange for this to become my new reality. Let's look at this from the perspective of this question. What are the things that a savvy consumer would need to set up to have the email for the user gxsam11 on the gxsam11.net domain wind up accessible by Google Apps for Enterprise? The first link in the chain is the people who host the information which identifies the DNS servers. I wanted to use the Liquid Web DNS servers. ns.liquidweb.com and ns1.liquidweb.com are the two Liquid Web DNS servers. Let me just, on a side note, point out that Liquid Web could have had me host my own DNS servers on my VPS, but I chose to use their universal DNS servers. What I'm showing here is the manageliquidweb.com interface, and I'm showing the old zone here. Okay, there's two zones. Okay, I'm jumping the gun here, but I created a zone for my gxsam11.net domain, but the information that I'm showing you comes from my previously existing DNS records for buscompanyx.com, and they show the name server records pointing to the Liquid Web DNS servers. Back to the first step again. I needed to get the people who specify my domain's DNS servers to declare the Liquid Web DNS servers to be the DNS servers for the gxsam11.net domain. Now, who are those people? It can be eNome. You can see them right up here. eNome Incorporated. They have a website, enome.com. Or it can be NetFronts. The domain is actually registered by eNome, but NetFronts is the man in the middle who handles my dealings with eNome. So if I ask eNome to do anything, they'll tell me to deal with NetFronts. I ended up finally getting things done through NetFronts. What I think happened was their service went down overnight and came back up again after their 9 to 5 business hours started. Anyways, I went to the NetFronts website where they handle domain registration, and there I was able to specify Liquid Web's DNS servers as the ones for gxsam11.net domain. Now I'm going to try to demonstrate this in case I have to replicate it in the future. Speaking of the future, NetFronts may be eliminated from this entire process. see the future video about that. Here's my e-wallet. There's a link right here to the NetFront's website that handles domain stuff. I'm in e-wallet under NetFronts, under DNS, under the card for gxsam11.net domain registration. I'm going to click on this link here. Okay, this is where it takes me. I click on update domain records and my username and password's already filled in. And I went to this link here for modify name servers. See the Liquid Web name servers listed right there? I'm glad they're there. Now that the people who registered the gxsam11.net domain are declaring the DNS servers to be the ones owned by Liquid Web, the next thing to do is set up the DNS records on the name servers. Let me show you the result of what I did here. Okay, you go to networking. You're on the DNS tab. gxsam11.net domain. Notice that it is delegated, and what that means is that the people who registered my domain name have indicated that this zone on these DNS servers are recognized as being the DNS servers for my domain, the domain this one. Now, here are basically the ones that I added were the MX records here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. There was already an existing one which was created automatically, and I had to delete that one. I don't know who created it. It may have just been created automatically when I created the zone for this domain. The one other thing that I added besides the MX records is a CNAME record. I believe what that CNAME record is for is so that when someone types mail.gxsam11.net, that will be equivalent to gxsgoogle.com, and that way they will be redirected to log into Gmail. The one other thing which I did add, because I don't want to have to come back to this later, but it's not relevant to what we're doing right now, is a text record. The text record basically is Google needed it, and you'll see why later on, to verify that I actually own this domain. I own the domain gxsam11.net. One more thing I want to add is when you're adding these records, you have to put a TTL, that's time to live. Ideally, you want it to be as high as possible, and I think the highest number is 3600. However, if you want this data to propagate to the web faster, you would want to put a lower number than that. However, how fast it propagates also depends on whose DNS server you're using, and I'm using a good one. It's Liquid Web, so it propagated pretty fast anyways. And that's why this number I have down here is lower than the other ones. The one other thing that you have to be careful is when you add the data field, see these numbers 5, 0, 10. These basically specify the priority because it'll try each one of them, but the lower the number is, that it'll try this one first because it has a lower number. Okay, this mail exchange server first. And basically, these are the same as for Bus Company X right here. I basically copied them. However, there is a website that Google Apps has which tells you what those are. I can show it to you right now. MX record values. I noticed they put a priority of 1 for this one, 1, 5, and 10. Maybe I should change that to a 1. Okay, I'm going to rush through the rest of this. Basically, it consisted of going to Google Apps for Enterprise. I believe it's called Manage My Account. And then I went into the section called Domains. Let me demonstrate this. It's this link right over here in eWallet. But I need to open the proper browser. Here it is, domains. Then I had to click on add a domain or a domain alias. I did end up adding a domain alias rather than a domain. Now I'm going to just go through some of the screenshots here. This one shows that gxsam11.net was added as a domain in my admin on Google Apps. It's a domain alias for buscompanyx.com. I did end up having to add an alias called gxsam11 as a user for buscompanyx.com. But now, as far as Google is concerned, gxsam11 at buscompanyx.com and gxsam11 at gxsam11.net are the same email address. They're aliases. Okay, here it shows the profile for super user at buscompanyx.com, and here it shows that gxsam11 at buscompanyx.com is an alias for super user at buscompanyx.com. That's why when I log in as super user, I will see all the email that arrives for gxsam11 it's an alias. They have a help page called Add a Domain or Domain Alias. I had called support, so they sent me an email summarizing what we covered in the phone conversation. If I just log into my schoolbuscompany at gmail.com email, my normal Gmail account, that's not with Bus Company X, and do a search for this subject line, I can find this email. I archived it. And that's it for this subject. Next, I believe I will be attempting to eliminate netfronts from the equation. In other words, remove them from being my registrar for the domain. That way, if I stop my subscription to netfronts, I don't have to worry about that link in the chain being broken.